Is now the time to build your PC? Well, there are two major developments in 2021 regarding component pricing as well as availability that you have to know. So let's talk about them now. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Remember to smash that like button if you like content like this. Smashing that like button may reduce the MSRP of some of these GPUs. It's not guaranteed, but it's worth a shot. All right, so let's talk about building a PC. We're right at the beginning of 2021, and certainly the year has not gotten off to a very good start in terms of building your own PC. So if you're thinking of upgrading or building your PC, there are two main things you have to know. First, it's going to be the increase in component pricing, including GPUs. And second, it's going to be the continued scarcity and out of stock status of pretty much every single GPU and most of the new CPUs as well. So first, let's tackle the issue of these price increases. If you guys have been following the channel very recently, the first that we heard of this was from an Asus rep. He confirmed that most components, including motherboards, power supplies, and especially the GPUs, are going to be getting some fairly significant price increases. And this is going to be taking place pretty much right now, Q1 of 2021. So it's not even something that's happening much later on. So knowing that fact, if you can find the components that you want now, I would say go ahead and build a PC, because now we have just entered sort of like the high risk alert mode. View this as almost a video game. You know, in a game like even like Cyberpunk 2077, when you're walking around, everybody's peaceful, but all of a sudden when you have the enemies nearby, you hear that enemy music, the screen starts to blink red. That's pretty much the situation we're in now. So find what you can. Even recently, the other day, a bunch of people were able to get GPUs from Best Buy. They got notifications, they were able to order them. A lot of my own viewers posted that, oh, they were able to get a 3070, 3090, 3080. So it seems like recently there was certainly a fairly large drop. So I would say if you can find, start with the list. The hardest is going to be the GPU, followed by the CPU. First, if you can find any of the newer GPUs and they fit in your budget, I would say forget about waiting for a 3080 Ti or a 3080 Super. Go ahead and buy that 3080 or 3070. Of course, if you need it and it fits into your budget, because by the time the new GPUs come out, a 3080 Ti, 3080 Super, 3070 Super, whatever it may be, those MSRP prices are going to be significantly more expensive than the prices now. So this price increase, we're going to see pretty much right away within the next few months. So if you find the GPU that you want, even if it's a 3080 and you really wanted a 3080 Ti, I would suggest just get that now, because even the regular 3080s, they have already started going up in price. I even looked on the website for Asus. The 3070 Strix GPU is already $699. And of course, that's going to be an AIB GPU with its own cooler, compared to the Founders Edition 3070, which cost $499. Now, is there really a $200 difference between these two 3070s? I don't think so. That's a massive difference. The Founders Edition and the $500 3070s, performance-wise, will be within a few percentage points. So we're talking about a massive hike here. And remember, $699 is the MSRP of a 3080. So you're basically paying 3070 prices for what should be a 3080 at MSRP. So you can see these prices are considerably higher than they should be. Not to mention that even some of the 3080s are already passing the $900 mark, especially the higher end 3080s. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing some of them at over $1,000, which starting at $699 was a great price to value proposition. But now, as it approaches the price of the 2080 Ti, what it used to cost, certainly that proposition is kind of being thrown out the window. The game is completely redeveloped, because now it seems like the 3080 prices, especially the higher end ones, pretty much are going to be close to what we thought the 3080 Ti would come in at when that's released. So you can bet when the 3080 Ti is released, I really think it's going to be pretty much the same price that the 2080 Ti used to be, somewhere within like that $1,200 to $1,300 range, depending on the model. So it's definitely not going to be a $1,000 GPU like we thought before. So if you were waiting for that, just keep in mind it's certainly going to be probably over $1,100 or $1,200, as we see the pricing for even a vanilla 3080 is already approaching $1,000. So it only makes sense that all these GPUs are going to be considerably more expensive within the next few months. And of course, even on the little bit cheaper GPUs, we are not safe from these price increases. Even the 3060 Ti, which was supposed to start at $399, you're going to easily be seeing them for, you know, the $500 something range, approaching $600. So it's certainly getting a lot more expensive. So if you can find any of these GPUs now for a better price, I think I would go ahead and do it. Later on, you could always sell them and upgrade to like a 3080 Ti or whatever you want. But for now, it's like we're in video game alert mode. Get whatever you want, because waiting, I don't think is going to be a very good strategy right now, especially when it comes to the GPU. So what about the CPU? Like the GPU, we have seen pretty sporadic sort of restocking of the Ryzen 5000. That's going to be pretty much the go-to CPU for now. A lot of people may also want to consider Intel. They have been in stock a lot more than AMD has been, and pricing has been pretty much the lowest I've ever seen it. You can get something like a 10850K for $399, which really isn't a bad price for a 10-core 20-thread CPU that boosts all the way up to 5.3 gigahertz. Given that Intel has taken a beating recently, that may be a decent option, because your other option here is, first, you're going to have a very difficult time finding Ryzen 5000 in stock. They have been restocking here and there, but to get them at MSRP is going to be pretty difficult. And then you're left with Ryzen 3000, and what happened there? Those prices also went up because of scarcity of the newer CPUs. So you're going to be paying much more money for something from Ryzen 3000, approaching the MSRP of the new stuff. I've seen the 3900X, which used to be on sale for $399, as much as $550. That's the price of pretty much a 5900X. That shows you that last generation is being priced pretty close to the new stuff, just because people can't get the new stuff and the demand continues to be very, very high. And once again, I also feel that CPU prices are going to increase much like the GPU prices, especially because of all the scarcity and everything going on. So if you find a CPU that you want, I would go ahead and get it, and even consider Intel. Of course, the new Intel CPUs will be coming out within the next few months, but if you have to build something now, you can actually find a pretty good value on the Intel side. Even though AMD, I still prefer that. I think you should still try to get one. This is just if you really can't find one at a reasonable MSRP. And now, not to overlook the other components in your PC, usually we focus on the GPU and CPU just because those are the most in demand and they're the most difficult to find. But there has to be a very special note here about all the other components in your PC. And we're talking about your case, your power supply, your motherboard, your RAM, your hard drives, your SSDs, and your NVMe drives. Pretty much everything, I would expect there to be a price increase. These increases, because of all these different issues we've been having with the global supply chain, with different tariffs. There are many, many reasons for these, but these things are going to also affect all of these components. And these are more or less readily in stock right now for the most part. Like if you want a nice case, you can definitely find one. If you want a power supply, most of them are available. Some have started to go out of stock, like the Corsair SF750 for like mini ITX builds. People really bought them up, and when they do restock, sometimes they go for over MSRP. So that may start to happen with a lot more power supplies. Motherboards, for the most part, are in stock, but I've seen that some of the really popular ones like the X570 and some of the B550 AMD motherboards, certainly the really popular ones sell out pretty quickly, but for now you can still find them at fair prices at MSRP. Most of the motherboards are available. The other day I picked up at Micro Center an X570 Hero Asus motherboard, which is certainly probably one of the most popular ones, but the stock was certainly very low, and much like the GPUs, you can expect prices for these components to go up a fairly significant amount pretty soon, like within the next few months. So if you know you want to build your PC, even if you can't find a GPU right now, I would at least pick up those components now. They're probably going to be the cheapest now than they're going to be for most of the rest of the year, because pretty soon these cases, especially the nicer cases, the higher end motherboards, some of the power supplies, they're all going to be probably considerably more expensive than they are now. And I really don't think it's going to be like a 1 to 2% difference. If it's anything like the GPUs that we've been seeing, they've been ranging anywhere from like 10 to 25% more expensive than they used to be. So we could be seeing a pretty significant price hike pretty much for everything across the board. So I would tell you, find whatever you can now that you want to build your PC. Of course, you don't have to compromise if you don't want to. If you really don't want to buy a part, just wait, don't buy it. You may have to overpay later. But if it's something that you know you're going to use to build your PC, I would go ahead and do it now, because these are going to be the lowest prices we may have for quite a while. And the second major thing that you have to know going into 2021, aside from all of these price increases, and this is a little bit connected because the scarcity and availability of GPUs especially and CPUs are going to continue to be very, very difficult, especially for the top end stuff. Like all the new GPUs we got from NVIDIA and AMD are going to be very difficult to find. This is not only due to people being home and more gamers entering the market, but also if you guys have been following cryptocurrency, mining is once again back, and especially the NVIDIA GPUs GPUs. They've been mining things like Ethereum that's very good on these GPUs. So a lot of people have been buying these in bulk, and this is leading to a really big problem in terms of availability. So I don't think we're going to see this improve in 2021 at all. I think we're going to be in that sort of video game alert mode pretty much for the entire year. Hopefully by the end of the year, the prices, I mean, we can't do too much about that. They're going to be high. But so is there a chance that maybe by the third quarter or fourth quarter, things will be better? Well, for pricing, I don't think so. Like I said before, prices are going to be the best now than they're going to be all year, just because everything is going up across the board. What about for availability? Well, if you make the argument that if everything's more expensive, less people will buy it, possibly we could see that improve by the third and fourth quarter, and maybe some of these companies catching up with their logistics and their manufacturing. But the issue still remains that the demand is so overwhelmingly large from not But the issue still stands that the demand is so massively large, not only from gamers and enthusiasts, but now on the mining side as well. If cryptocurrency continues to stay up, we're pretty much going to see this stock issue all year in terms of finding stock and availability. So certainly I would view this almost as like a day-to-day basis. Keep checking different websites, follow different notification groups, try to see if you can find these components now, because it makes no sense in saying you don't want a 3080 that you may be able to possibly get now at still close to its current MSRP. Later on, you're going to have to, first of all, pay more for it. It's still going to be difficult to find. And even something like a 3080 Ti or a 3080 Super, when that eventually releases, those are going to be impossible to find as well. Not to mention, they're going to have a very significant hike in their MSRP. They're pretty much going to be out of budget for many, many gamers. And a lot of the prices that we're going to see the current stuff at, when the new MSRPs come into play, it's going to be pretty close to the scalper prices that people have been seeing for the current generation 3070 and 3080. So expect those prices to increase. So to summarize, if you're building or upgrading your PC, I would say the time to do it is absolutely now before these prices get even higher and the stock situation is not going to improve. And whatever new items are released this year, like a 3080 Ti that we mentioned before, those are going to be really expensive. They're going to be much more expensive than we were expecting, and they're going to continue to be very difficult to find. So we're going to remain, I think, in this state pretty much for all of 2021. But remember, this is something you have to deal with day to day, week to week. It's constantly changing. That's why I always do these update videos. And remember, it's not all doom and gloom. There have been a lot of people compared to before that have been able to get their hands on some of these new components. Like I mentioned before, within the last few days, Best Buy had a pretty large drop of RTX GPUs, 3070, 3080, 3090. A lot of people seemed like they got their hands on them. A lot of even my own viewers posted that they were able to get it. So these are certainly coming into stock sporadically here and there. It's not easy by any means, but just inform yourself, follow the channel here, subscribe. I do a lot of updates on where to get GPUs. It has worked for a lot of people. And remember, it's never going to be easy. You're going to have to really sort of hustle and get knowledge and really work hard to get one of these GPUs. But if you really want one, it's certainly possible. And I really do think you should be buying whatever components that you can now, because the price is just going to go up and scarcity and availability are continue to be a problem for most of the year. All right, guys, so remember to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you like content like this, a lot more coming up, leave a comment below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.